up, Vigilantes? Today I have the privilege of having Andreas Brekken here with us. And Andreas is kind of like the James Bond of crypto. If you guys don't know about Andreas, well, today you'll get to know about Andreas. Andreas is the CEO of Sideshift.ai and shitcoin.com. Welcome, Andreas. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you. I'm so glad to see you again.
Likewise. So Andreas, how did you get into crypto? What brought you to where you are at now? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I got into Bitcoin in, I think, 2011. And yeah, I mean, like everybody else, I read about it on Slashdot, I'm sure in like 2010. I just thought it was just some different kind of PayPal. But then in 2011, I started looking more into it. Like I installed the Bitcoin software on my computer. I, started hanging out on Bitcoin Talk, on IRC, buying and selling with PayPal, all this stuff. So yeah, it didn't take me that long after that until I figured out you can control the wallet with software, which means you can make a casino, you can make an exchange, you can make like a checkout experience for e-commerce. So yeah, my background is a programmer, so that's always like how I approach things.
Awesome. And so what's your background working within crypto itself? I know that you are someone that I think a lot of people see as a reference when it comes to exchanges. What's your experience with exchanges and what are you up to now?
Yeah, so the first exchange I did was called justcoin.com, which was based out of Oslo, Norway. So we actually had fiat on and off ramps for Scandinavian currencies, plus of course euros and dollars. So I run that one, and I would say started development 2013, and I sold that one to ANX, which is Hong Kong based. I sold it in 2015 maybe, and then I started working at Brekken as a backend engineer, which means dealing with wallets for Bitcoin, but also for shitcoins, a lot of Ethereum work, banking integrations for sending wires, all this stuff. So yeah, I spent 2 years at Brekken. Great company. Jesse is really cool. His right-hand man, Austin Alexander, is great. And yeah, after that, I took a bit of a break and I just started traveling around like everywhere, going to conferences, get to meet people like you at an Acapulco. And yeah, I just went around. Like I wanted to meet all these crazy people I've been talking to online in person and hang out and do crazy shit. So I did that for a while. And last year, I felt the itch again. So I started a new exchange, which is called Sideshift.ai. And it's what we call like an instant or rapid exchange. So you don't have to make an account. I don't want to know your email. I don't want to know your phone number. I don't want to know your mom's maiden name. You just tell me what you have, tell me what you want, and you'll have your money in no time.
Awesome. And so how are you with privacy coins right now? Are you guys taking in privacy coins?
Oh, absolutely. We have pretty good volume on both Monero and Zcash. And it's an interesting one because everyone's buying Monero and Zcash on Sideshift. Nobody's selling it. So it's always like Ether or USDT to privacy coins. I think I think all this stuff like the news we saw last week where the European Union wants to ban encryption. It's like, what the fuck is this 1990s? But yeah, people are waking up to financial surveillance and other surveillance, and also with all the blacklisting. What do we call this now? Deplatforming. I think people are actually starting to worry that if you run your mouth on Twitter, maybe you won't have a bank account. What if Bank of America is like the biggest Biden supporter, and you said something snarky, so now you don't have a fucking bank account anymore? This could happen.
Wow. Yeah, we're really living in, we're inching up to an Orwellian nightmare, but we want to thank you for doing what you do, Andreas, and for everyone around there in the world that's doing what Andreas is doing right now. Your work is extremely valuable to us, and we really thank you. Want to really thank you for all the work that you're doing. You really are doing everyone a big favor because, yeah, a lot of this censorship and a lot of this surveillance is really scary, and like you said, it could be as easy as getting rid of your bank account just for saying something snarky. It's ridiculous.
Absolutely. And but for the people who are scared of that kind of thing, the US is very special. If you have an American passport, it's just going to be tough for you. You're stuck in the surveillance environment because uh, you will not be able to get a bank account outside of the US because all the banks are scared of the US. But if you live in any other country, you can just go, go to Asia, go to Hong Kong or Singapore or something, open up a bank account. They would love to have you. I don't care what your views are. So they're better. Or if you can, just stay crypto. You use privacy coins, mix your coins, uh, use websites where you don't have to sign up when possible. That's for exchanges, but also just for purchasing things. Like you can go to Bitrefill and add credits to your phone with crypto. You don't need an account. So that's how you can help.
Awesome. Thank you for that insight. I'm pretty sure a lot of people will, are very grateful for what you just told them. So you've been a Bitcoin OG and you've been in the middle of all these forks. And right now we're approaching the Bitcoin Cash fork of November 15. Could you please shine some light to what's going on? Everyone's asking. No one knows what's really going on. We have an idea, but we really would like your perspective. Enlighten us, please.
Yeah. So as you know, like after the BTC fork, I sided with Bitcoin Cash because I like the idea of just change one number, which would be just get bigger blocks. And as a developer, like I wasn't much into SegWit just because I don't need all these extra complications. Bitcoin was already working for me. But yeah, so I started with Bitcoin Cash for that fork. My situation now is I'm running an exchange. We have all kinds of coins. We have BTC, BSV, BCH. We have shit coins. I don't even know what they do. So I stay much more neutral now, but I follow everything. Because like we have to be able to both work with Bitcoin.com, which is BCH, and Blockstream, which is not that, or with all the BSV projects or Ethereum. So what I know about the upcoming November 15th fork is that I have to change my software again. Hate that shit. It seems, the way this all started is Bitcoin ABC, which is most popular full node software for Bitcoin Cash. They've been struggling with money to fund development for a while, and they tried different strategies like raising through donations. I think they had some exchanges paying them monthly, so sort of like a Patreon style. But I think they wanted something more long term. So their developers, and I would say especially their chief dev, whose name is Henri Sachet, said like, no, we need the funding for the full node software. That is what you need to use Bitcoin Cash. We need the funding to be guaranteed by the software itself. So he made a proposal, which is called the IFP. I don't even remember what that means, but it's like it's a change to the Bitcoin software so that a portion of the mining reward, those are the newly minted coins we see on average every 10 minutes, a portion of those coins would go to, I guess, some kind of foundation, but that mostly seemed like just Bitcoin ABC. So yeah, like it's a hard fork where instead of all fees and money reward going to miners, which is what it's been like in Bitcoin since 2009, I guess. They're going to have it so that a portion goes to these protocol developers. And the reaction online was a complete shit show. Like, I've never seen people respond so poorly to anything. And for me, it's weird because, people were using the term tax, it's difficult because you're running the software voluntary, but at the same time, if they just have this, you don't really have the power to change it. So the only thing you can do is what you call, anarchists would call like voting with your feet. So you just use the alternative that doesn't have the feet. It's like, so it seems like everyone is voting with their feet. Nobody wants this thing to happen. And Bitcoin ABC is just, anytime they post anything on Reddit or Twitter, it's just all the comments are just, you suck. So yeah, the reception's been really bad. And we're seeing some announcements being sent out by exchanges now about the November 15 fork. And nearly all exchanges are saying, we're just going to run the alternative that's come out, which is called Bitcoin Cash Node, which is exactly the same as ABC, but doesn't have this mining tax in it. Exchanges are going to run that one. With a few exceptions, I would say most exchanges with futures trading, they're obviously going to say we'll support both because they need people to gamble to make money. Yeah, and I mean, there's some complications in here because on Bitcoin Cash, there is a system for arbitrary tokens, like, from Ethereum as ERC20. Bitcoin Cash has this as a system called SLP, which I think is Simple Ledger. I forgot. Anyway, you can have arbitrary tokens, and there already exist tokens such as USDT from Bitfinex and USDH, which is an alternative. So when you have a hard fork, like, where is your USDT now? Is it on the Bitcoin ABC chain with mining tax, or is it on the Bitcoin Cash Node chain, which you could call the original chain? So all of these tokens, they're going to have to choose which chain will we live on. And from what I understand, it's all going to be on this Bitcoin Cash Node or BCHN.
Right on. So so for the most part, people, all they have to do is really just hold on to their UTXOs, and after everything settles, they could sell whatever the minority chain is, or they can keep both chains if both survive. Do you think we will end up with two chains?
And because and just to say what users have to do, the nice thing about Bitcoin is if you just don't upgrade your software, any new crazy rules people come up with, just don't upgrade your software and you will be on whatever chain is without all the crazy changes. And yeah, as far as the chains go, this is very complicated because Bitcoin Cash does not have the same mining difficulty adjustment algorithm as BTC does. So on BTC, if there is a fork, then the minority fork will die because Bitcoin only adjusts how difficult it is to mine coins every 2 weeks. And the 2 weeks is done by counting how many blocks are mined. Those happen with 10-minute interval by default. So if you have a minority fork of BTC that only has, let's say, 10% of the mining power, then the difficulty adjustment on the minority fork would not be 2 weeks, but it would be 20 weeks. So that would cause miners to just give up because it takes too long to get money there. And that would cause even less people to mine. So now the mining power is only 1% of BTC. So now it's not 20 weeks, now it's 200 weeks. And this is what you call the death spiral, where the chain just dies. Bitcoin Cash avoided this by adding a different difficulty adjustment algorithm. So it doesn't just change every 2 weeks, it changes much more often, and it uses the amount of time or wall clock time, as we say, instead of counting the number of blocks. So Bitcoin Cash cannot really have chain death. So both chains will technically survive, but it's looking like most users and exchanges and miners that are signaling will be supporting BCH, which is without the tax.
Wow, thank you. You gave us a very thorough understanding of what's going on with Bitcoin Cash. And so you don't foresee any like chain death spiral on Bitcoin Cash? You just see one chain overtaking the other, and it seems like, from what I'm hearing, BCHN, Bitcoin Cash node, is the chain that's going to take over the network. So what happens to ABC? What happens to the guys from ABC? What happens to Amari? What happens? Do they continue behind Bitcoin Cash node, or do they go off their own way? What's gonna be of them? What's gonna happen?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough situation. I would say personally, I would side with BCHN. It's what resonates with me. I don't like having something programmed in to give money to specific people. I think it should be done on merit, and that is what we call mining. I don't want any hard-coded, this specific person is going to get paid every now and then. This sounds like too much UBI for me. So
that's very funny. UBI, yeah.
Yeah, because like you don't have to do anything. You're still going to get the money. So ABC actually released an alternative version of their software without their own miner tax, and that happened like late last week. So this is I don't know what they're doing, man. It seems like I mean, if the thing you've been campaigning on is like mining tax, and then last minute, like, you don't have to have mining tax, you can still use our software. To me, that smells like a bit of desperation. Maybe they're trying to get back in. And as far as it goes, like how many bridges have Bitcoin ABC and I guess Omri earned, I don't really know. If you want my guess, if you want the crazy Andreas prediction, I say Bitcoin ABC will somehow be involved in Emin's project, which is called Avalanche, because they always seem like really good friends to me.
Okay, great. I can see that. Yeah. So wow, Andreas, thank you so much. That's a very thorough rundown as to what's going on with ABC. Are there any? What are you most excited about? If you looked at all of crypto right now, what projects, what crypto networks would you say are like that? You're like, wow, this is really intriguing. This is very new. This is where, aside from my business with Sideshift.ai, this is really something that I keep an eye on. What is that?
Yeah, I would say as for these like base layer protocols, so like completely different code and everything, I have protocol fatigue. I just stopped looking. Like, I don't know what's the difference between EOS and Tron. I literally don't know. Is it? Yeah, I don't know. So what's exciting me now is what people are building on top of everything. And unfortunately for us, and us, I mean programmers, the action is on top of Ethereum right now. Anybody tells you like all the DeFi and all the cool projects are on Tron, don't listen to them. It's all on Ethereum, which is why we're seeing the Ethereum fees balloon. And yeah, I always welcome any development, like crazy ideas using Ethereum smart contract as like Lego blocks that you put together to these giant financial Death Stars. I think it's fantastic. I love DeFi. I don't invest in it, but I like looking at it. So I would say everything's on Ethereum now. I wish everything was on Bitcoin, because Bitcoin has UTXO. You have the concept of coins, and it gives us a lot of interesting flexibility. Ethereum, as I keep repeating, is account-based, which means that sending several transactions in a row from your wallet is quite difficult because you have to confirm one at a time, and this it just makes life quite miserable for exchanges and also some users. I'm sure people listening to the show have MetaMask and bought some shitcoin and have this concept of waiting for transfers in MetaMask, having it not go through. So having to rebroadcast with a higher fee to get the transaction after that sent. So I think people are really, from like a visual user experience, starting to understand why Bitcoin uses the concept of UTXOs and coins.
Thank you for giving us that insight. So what is your opinion on, I mean, you've been involved in Bitcoin for a long time, so you're now looking at Ethereum as an exciting project that is moving to proof of stake. Do you, what are your thoughts on that move to proof of stake, and what challenges do you see for Ethereum from your perspective?
Yeah, so my view of proof of stake is the same as I would say Paul Stewart's in many ways, which means that I don't believe that it works. It sounds like a free energy machine where there are, I mean, in Bitcoin, you have what we call a negative externality, which is mining. So in order for the software to keep working, we have to waste something on the outside to show how much we love the product. And this thing on the outside is electricity. Mining uses electricity, and the electricity we spend on mining is what we often say secures the network, or you could say is what gives value to the coins. And proof of stake, it's like, it's more sci-fi. So it's like a spaceship that is in the middle of, and it is propelling itself. It is accelerating without throwing something out the back of the spaceship. It is a self-contained system. And this unfortunately does not work. You must throw something out the back to propel yourself. That's why it's called a propellant. So proof of stake works by faith and magic, or it works by centralized checkpointing and centralized authorities, which is basically what Ripple does. You know, maybe that would just be easier.
So let me ask you, since we're talking about proof of stake and proof of work, I just need to ask you, I want to know Andreas Brekken's opinion on Bitcoin Satoshi Vision, BSV. Mm-hmm. Go. What are your thoughts on BSV?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely has the most interesting crowd. My favorite person to run into at a conference, is usually a bar, would be our Lord and Savior, Craig Wright. I love that guy, man. He is so funny. Just I just love him. He's great. And then it's like his sidekick, Jimmy Wen.
Are you being sarcastic, or are you being honest? No, like we want to know, like aside from them as characters, what do you think of
I love
ecosystem in general?
Yeah, no, I love the characters, which is what the ecosystem is made of. Like Craig's great, Jimmy Wen is great. I don't know much about Calvin. Daniel Krawitz is fantastic. I assume you're still involved, so that's another plus. And that's what I know about the ecosystem. Like I follow some people on Twitter. I know like Daniel is somehow trying to like usurp Craig and Calvin, and is running like his mining pool called Matterpool. Yeah, it's just great. And the other day I saw the multisig they used on BSV was broken. Yeah, just good stuff.
Okay, so I want to ask you about Monero. I mean, everyone thinks that Bitcoin is completely private and anonymous, and then they realize that it's not. And now you're telling me that from your experience with your exchange, Sideshift.ai, that you get a lot of demand for Monero and for privacy. So why is it? What's going on with the space? Why is Monero not bigger than what it is? If that's what a lot of people really want and desire, what's going on?
Yeah, so, when I got started with Bitcoin, there was only one wallet. It was just called Bitcoin. We hadn't renamed it to Bitcoin Core yet. And I thought it was private because, in that client, there's like 3 tabs in the software. There's like the list of transactions you've done. Then there's a receive, which just shows you an address you can share with people so they can send you money, and there's send. So when you go to receive and you see these Bitcoin addresses, it just looks like garbage. So I'm like, oh man, this must be completely anonymous. So like back then we didn't know. And I think still a lot of people don't know. Because Bitcoin is so convoluted, I think that makes people mistake it for also being private. So, when more people are starting to use Monero, maybe that's just people waking up to the fact that Bitcoin is not private at all. And if you care about your financial privacy, just put a little bit in Monero or Zcash at least, just to just to get that going, show some intention.
So you're surviving out this COVID disaster, supposedly, out in the tropics. What advice would you have for anyone watching that want to get into crypto during these crazy times?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing you should do is if you live in a place where there are restrictions of your movement, lockdowns, or in extreme cases like Australia where you are not allowed to leave the country, then you need to find a way to leave that country or that area, because living with restrictions on your movement, on your speech, where there's maybe violence and there's like rioting, that's not a good place for you to exist, to live. So you just need to figure out what is a place that is closer to my ideals, like to my morals, and move there. Because most of us work in a computer, and even if you have some other profession, I'm sure you can move it. So that's the first thing you need to be doing. And for getting into crypto, this is the best time ever to get into crypto. When I got started, it was so hard to use everything. It's like no documentation. There weren't YouTube shows telling you how all of this worked. You just had to sit there and kind of do a lot of guesswork. Now there's all these chains. You can get jobs at all these exchanges and different companies. There's just so many opportunities. And the only thing you should not be doing is you should not be gambling. You should not be a day trader. You should not be sitting there guessing what's going to go up and down. There are buildings full of hedge fund traders, and they're all mathematicians out of Stanford and MIT. They're sitting there doing like 16-hour days. They're all geniuses. They will destroy you. Do not trade. Just buy and hold and job in crypto. Holding or owning Bitcoin is not a job. That's a passive investment. So you should be reaching out to businesses you think are exciting. That can be, maybe it's a Bitcoin miner manufacturer. Maybe you're good at manufacturing. Maybe you want to do customer support for an exchange. Maybe you're a programmer. Look for a startup to join. And don't be so picky about the coin the project is focused on. If you're hardcore B2C, I'm sure you would find it exciting to work for some Ethereum startup. You can keep your B2C in your wallet. Just worry about the technology. Definitely get involved. Like, we are the Wolf of Wall Street. When you see that movie, if you go to like some investment bank, it's not like Wolf of Wall Street anymore. It is so boring. You need to be in crypto, because this is where it's happening. This is where the talent is, and we have the most fun people. We have the best parties. We have everything.
That's right. That's awesome. Thank you, Andreas. Andreas, if we have I think we may have another Anarchapulco. Will I see you there?
Oh, if it's on, I'm going. I mean, Mexico has no restrictions, so I'm currently in Thailand, which is a bit of a reality show because if you and there are no restrictions here, there are no masks. They don't really hold elections here, so I don't have to listen to that nonsense. So it's just like a completely normal, carefree life. There are no COVID cases, nothing. So I don't want to leave until I can re-enter. But isn't Acapulco like February?
Yeah, late February.
Okay, I should be able to make that. You'll see me there, of course.
Awesome, Andreas. Well, thank you so much for your time. And we will make sure to link Sideshift.ai below. Andreas needs to go get some breakfast because it's early in the morning where he's at right now. But thank you very much for your time. And let me ask you about shitcoin.com before you leave. Tell us about shitcoin.com.
Yeah, so shitcoin.com is the only serious source of news in crypto. We send out a newsletter every week with just the most interesting news and usually the funniest news. You can subscribe to that at shitcoin.com/newsletter. And we also do the shitcoin.com TV, which is our podcast. We've had a bit of an hiatus on that one, but you should check out the archive. Lots of fun guests. Some favorites would be like Vitalik, Sam from FTX, and some others. And we'll probably start recording that show again in a week or two.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Andreas, for being with us today. Guys, peace, love, and anarchy. Subscribe and share. And Andreas, I'll see you at Anarchapulco. Take care, my friend. Peace.
You will.